Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live. My name is Brandon Drumm. I'm here with Parker Thune, and we are here to talk some OU athletics. The women had a tough go tonight. Not the best way to go out, 108-64 to Notre Dame. But there is a lot going on with spring ball starting up. We're going to talk about what to expect since we get to watch a good portion of spring ball tomorrow.
I was about to say, we have more of a sense than usual as to what we're going to be able to expect.
I am like, I don't even know how to react to what's going on right now. Like I was texting Mike Houck earlier and I was like, Mike, I don't even know what's going on, dude. Like, this is unusual. We're used to being shut out. And here we are. The head coach at the University of Oklahoma is not paranoid.
Imagine that.
Weird. It's a weird time in Norman.
I guess we're going to find out whether you have to be paranoid in order to be successful, huh, Brandon?
Yeah, well, considering I believe Clemson has open practices. I believe Alabama is pretty open to the media as well. Georgia, I know for a fact, is open to the media because Sean Cooper was just down there and Job was there with him. And I was talking to Sean at the 7-on-7 tournament this past week. And he said, bro, Georgia's like nothing else. And anybody who's, as long as you call and let them know you're coming, or if they have you on a list, you can show up and do it. There was media everywhere. Weird that the top programs in the country, Ohio State included, they all seem to have open practices. Interesting, right? Very, very interesting. But we digress, or I digress, since I'm the one that keeps harping on it. Spring ball is upon us tomorrow. They did some walkthroughs today as a staff to know what was going on station-wise and stuff like that. We'll talk about Brent Venables' press conference. Did you get to listen to it yet? Because I know you were on the radio. Have you dove through it yet?
I've merely seen the quotable highlights circulating on the Twitter sphere. So, no, I've not gotten the chance to watch it over thoroughly yet. But, you know, the stuff that he did say that stood out quickly made its way to the socials. So among those, he mentioned that they're starting with a blank slate as far as the depth chart. Everybody's going to be competing for every spot. Obviously, I think with the natural exception of the quarterback position, because Jeff Lebby has already said, well, I mean, who knows? Maybe after pro day, JP Lozman might have something to say in that race, but
he's got a COVID year.
So there's that
COVID year,
no depth chart. And also hearing Venables dish on the recruiting process and his policy that you're not allowed to visit anywhere else once you commit was outstanding. And it really outlined and underscored some of the things that we've been talking about for months, Brandon.
Yeah.
Finally got it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, we talked about on OU Insider quite a bit on the VIP board, and that was one of the first things that we said was like, look, you're not going to see. I know there is a recruit out there right now that's really high rated that tried to commit to Oklahoma, but asked if he could take 2 or 3 visits after he committed, and Venables said, nope, absolutely not. I know the recruit really well, so he's very open to me about it. The kid will end up at Oklahoma eventually. I'll name the name down the line, but like that is they're hardcore about it. And I know I saw like there were some tweets from other fan bases, texting him, all that stuff. Like, but it's kind of hypocritical, and I want to get your opinion on this, Parker. It's kind of hypocritical that you won't allow your recruits to take visits, but you'll recruit others that are committed elsewhere. It's kind of a fine line there. What's your opinion on that?
I think
that's a deep question.
Yeah.
It's a loaded question.
I don't know if it's necessarily hypocritical because, you know, if if you go out there and you pursue a guy that is technically committed elsewhere, knowing full well that that other institution doesn't have your policy and they're allowing players to take other visits and stay in contact with other schools, I really don't see how that's hypocritical. If your institutional policy within the athletic department and within your recruiting office is, hey, once you commit, you're done taking visits, then it seems pretty ironclad to me. But again, I don't view it as hypocritical when other programs and other universities aren't taking the same approach as Oklahoma. If that were a blanket one size fits all thing across the board that every single university employed, then to a certain extent, I would start to see the hypocrisy. But as things stand right now, no, I don't really, because if guys are still technically on the open market until they put pen to paper in the eyes of the institutions that they're committed to, why wouldn't you go and pursue them?
No, very good point. Now, here's the thing, though. I kind of see the other side a little bit, and not so much, but I see where they're coming from. But so you're okay with that kid coming to you, but you're not okay with that. And I get where you're coming from too. I think it's just one of those deals where, hey, this is recruited, and you have a rule for if you're committed to they're committed to you. You don't have a rule if they're committed elsewhere, because that's not your kid that's committed to you right now at this very second. Now, the second they become committed to you, that doesn't fly anymore. And I think that's kind of the rule. That is the moral compass that Brent Venables and his staff have. And this isn't a new thing for OU. This was a Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops did the same thing. You didn't see a lot of decommits back in the day when Bob Stoops was around. Remember that? Because he had the whole, well, if you're dating, you can't, it's like when you're dating somebody or you're about to marry, you can't go cheat on her with somebody else. He would always give that spiel to the recruit. Now, that would hit home probably back in 2015 and earlier. It's got to be a little bit different now. You got to be a little bit more strict because kids are different nowadays. So
kids are different.
I mean,
they're very
they
different.
are.
It is a different era, and a lot of it has to do with the way that social media has evolved. There's a lot more.
And
there's a lot more.
Well, you're that age
play
too. So you can understand it more than anybody else, because you're not that far removed from him being 23, right?
No, that's true. That's true. I mean, and social media is huge. And the one thing, and this is not the case across the board, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm making a hasty generalization here or spreading a blanket across the entire recruiting landscape. But for the most part, the vast majority of these kids, what they want more than anything else is attention on social media. And easiest way to generate continual attention is to keep taking visits, keep posting pictures, keep releasing a list of schools that gets narrower and narrower and narrower, keep feeding the hype beast, and then wait as long as possible to make your decision. Again, that's not the case for everybody. And some guys absolutely hate that way of doing things. There are some guys that won't even release a top schools list or won't even tweet visit pictures until they're committed. There's always the black sheep, right? But for the most part, in general, that holds true. And so that's something that recruiting departments across the country are going to have to start playing toward, and to a certain degree have already started playing toward, is the reality that until a prospect is committed, while he's on his visit and while he's enjoying and amplifying the recruiting process, the one thing that they're going to want probably more than anything else is attention on social media from an institution and pictures in the uniform.
Yeah, no, I that right there, the photo shoot's huge because you got to get on the gram and you got to do all that stuff. And it's for branding. Everybody's trying to brand themselves for NIL deals or just their brand in general for everything after college. So and it starts in high school. So I get it. I understand it. Whatever. There has been a comment on here, Travis Penner. What's up, man? He said, I remember reading that Bob Stoops would allow visits. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, maybe. But he was very against it. I can cite one of the most famous OU players in the last 40 years, CD Lamb, committed to Oklahoma, was out taking visits, and the second he visited LSU, Oklahoma said, "Okay, look, you're gonna have to decommit from us." He goes public, he decommits. I only know this because I remember being just smack dab in the middle of this thing, talking to CD a lot about it when this happened. And he would always say, "Man, look, I'm going to end up in Oklahoma, but I didn't feel right taking visits. The coaches didn't like that I was committed taking visits. So the best thing to do was for me to decommit, take the visits, then come back around when I was done with everything and recommit to Oklahoma." And he vowed he was going to do that the whole time through, and he did. So I think allowing to take visits is a little liberal on the wording of what Bob Stoops did. He tolerated it a little bit to an extent, but if it got where you were taking visits and visits and visits and visits, you're decommitting, man. Like, cause you're not committed to Oklahoma at that point. And they made a point to do that. So there was kind of a happy medium there, I guess. But prior to 2015, he didn't allow that much visits. I mean, that just wasn't something Oklahoma did. That's kind of where Venables got that from, was because Dabo does it. You commit to Clemson, you're done. And they've been that way. That's why Clemson, you always see National Signing Day. Clemson won't have a lot going on. They'll be ranked like 25th, 23rd. But by the end of the cycle, by the end of National Signing Day, they're fourth or fifth.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you see a lot of Dabo Swinney in Brent Venables' coaching style, and he's repeatedly cited that decade that he spent at Clemson as perhaps the most formative period of his coaching career.
Yeah.
And I think that's evident in the way that Venables carries himself, in the way that he's conducting his recruiting efforts, and the way he's overseeing his program as a whole right now.
Well, I think it's kind of, and I'll use my life as an example. 247 will obviously be the most formative years for me in the recruiting market, and I've grown a lot during that time professionally, personally, all that stuff, because you're in your 30s. You remember Venables was in his 20s when he was at Oklahoma. He was this young, rising, just rambunctious, vibrant guy, and then he got into his mid 30s, and then he became a coach at Clemson. And I think that's where you started. And I totally see where he's coming from on that. But your mid 30s on to probably your mid 40s to 50 is probably the biggest growth you're ever going to have personally, professionally, all that type of stuff. And that's where he saw his. That's where most people see theirs. Bob Stoops, 37 to 52 was the best he ever coached. And Oklahoma they just happened to land right there with it, because that's when they hired him. Unfortunately, with the former guy, Oklahoma got the immature person, like he just wasn't there yet. Like, he was there, but he wasn't there. Like, he's anybody that says Muleshoe, as Parker calls him, isn't going to be a great coach, he's going to be a really good coach. I mean, he is a great coach, but he has some deficiencies in his coaching tactics because he's young. He's just now learning. He's growing professionally now. And I think that's where, and everybody that's listening that's in their 30s, 40s, 50s, y'all know what I'm talking about. So that's kind of where that goes with Venables. What are you looking forward to tomorrow? Like what are you personally watching? Because I happen to be on the flight with Eric Gray. You know this. They don't, but you know this. And we were talking to each other waiting on our bags yesterday. And he was laughing so hard at the Tennessee stuff, just dying laughing at the Tennessee room. Because he brought it up to me. He's like, "Man, have you heard that stuff?" I was like, "Yeah, I've heard it. It's kind of funny." He goes, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, where do these people come up with this stuff?" He goes, "These people are wild," and just started talking and rolling and rolling. he's somebody I'm actually wanting to watch really closely because we've heard nothing but like just glowing things about him. And he said something to me that was interesting. He said, "Look, man, I've got to be right. I've got to be professional. I've got to do everything right this year because this is my year. This is the year I can transform myself into the NFL back I see myself as." Outside of Eric Gray, because I know that's somebody that you've had your eyes on for a while. Who else do you want to see, and who are you watching tomorrow?
I feel like to me, I'll probably just naturally gravitate towards the newcomers because there's that intriguing sense of the unknown, right? Like what are we getting with the likes of Javonte Barnes, Robert Spears Jennings, Jaron Kanak, not to mention all of the transfers as well. So Jeffrey Johnson at defensive line. Think about the defensive backs, Trey Morrison, Kani Walker. So there and of course Jonah Laulu. I think that actually he's one of the players I am most interested to see in person and in pads, because from what I've heard of Jonah Laulu, or rather what I've heard about him, what they're intent on is using him not as an interior defensive lineman, but as a defensive end at 6'6", 280 pounds. So if that dude can move, and trust me, if you've seen his tape from Hawaii, you know he can move, but can he move relative to the level of competition that he's going to be going up against at Oklahoma versus the level of competition he was going up against at Hawaii? To me, it's a guy like that where if it's instantaneous for him and he adjusts to his new digs without much of a transitional period, and he's able to slot right in and give the Sooners an intimidating physical presence at the defensive end position, because he's even bigger physically than Isaiah Thomas was. If he's that big,
but he's slimmed down
he
since he got to Oklahoma.
No, he has, and I
think he looks good. Yeah,
that has to do with the fact that he's going to be playing outside. But if he can prove throughout spring practice on into fall camp that he's the type of guy that can be an impact player and a starter right off the bat, then the Sooners, I think, are going to have some really, really healthy competition at the defensive end spot, because you think about Clayton Smith, who may end up being more of a linebacker than a defensive end, depending on how he's utilized. Marcus Stripling has been really good at times. Ethan Downs, you and I both agree, Brandon, is a superstar. David Agwebu is moving to edge. Reggie Grimes gets lost in the shuffle a lot, but is as physically talented as any of those defensive ends. There is so much healthy competition, not just at defensive end, but across the entire defensive line. And that is a really robust, really encouraging dynamic in the Oklahoma defense, because it's going to be a sheer meritocracy. And Brent Venables said as much. The best guys are going to play and they're going to start. And so when you have that much healthy competition and you have that many guys pushing each other for those spots, you know the cream of the crop is going to rise to the top. And I'm curious to see who that is at the end of the day.
I think you and I probably agree on this. Like, Brent Venables' system for Reggie Grimes and Ethan Downs is like a dream freaking come true for those two.
Yes, it is.
With their speed and athleticism. And they're going to have their hand in the dirt. I think people need to understand that. They're going to be the hand in the dirt, rushing out the edge. They're going to come off the 7 and the 9 tech. Like, you're going to see a lot of you're going to see a lot of Dan Cody. Like, neither one of those guys have the athleticism. Well, I don't want to. Grimes has the twitchiness, and I think Downs does too. Downs just is a little bit more straight line explosive than side to side. As far as what he does defensively, even coming off the edge. The spinner position that was Dan Cody made so famous. Now, Nick Benito would have just killed it with that. That's where I think Lua, is that how you say Lua or Lua? Laulu. I hate pronouncing that name because I suck at it. Anything that's non-traditional, I'm the worst. Everybody knows this. Laulu is he would be kind of the spinner type of guy. Clayton Smith would be really good. And I really think Ugwegbu is another guy that could play that spinner position that he made very famous, or Dan Cody made very famous in Venables defense. But what I find interesting about this whole ordeal, you named a lot of the newcomers that we're going to be watching. I kind of interested to see how the guys returning that we expect to play really well, how they adjust to everything new. The in-depth, the intricate playbook that Venables is going to really demand that they know day one. Like, this isn't going to be just walk through and you're going to have to, rubbing baby oil on the bottom. It's okay that you don't know my playbook yet. No, man, you've had since January to learn that playbook, to learn our verbiage. We've had meetings. You've sat through them. You better know it the second you walk out on that field at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. Because if you don't, this isn't going to be a learning curve type of staff where they're going to be okay with those type of things. They're going to, Venables even said it about the coaches. He said, we're going to do one walkthrough and they got to know where they have to be on every time. So when it's this time, the horn goes off, you have to go here. Next time when the horn goes off, this time you've got to go here. And the coaches have got to get their players, they got to get set, and they got to get that drill going like now. And if they screw up, he said, God help them. And he's talking about the coaches, not the players, the coaches. So the players are going to get it 50 times worse than the coach is going to get, because the coach has got 1,000 other things going on. The player just has to worry about himself and getting to where he needs to be, not 10 other people along with himself like a coach. So the demand, I'm so excited for this because we haven't had new blood, new anything around these parts in 23 years. And yeah, Venables is old hat, but he's old hat with a new vibe to him. And it's cool, and it's nice, and it's fresh. And we're going to get to see, how do these recruits, how do they like it? Because this weekend during junior day, they're going to have something big, probably the first intra-squad scrimmage, because they're going to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, right? I believe is how they're going to do it this week.
Yes.
So practice 4 is full pads, and they're going to go inter-squad scrimmage at some point. And I don't want to say it's a scrimmage because it's not a full-blown scrimmage, folks. So don't be going, I can't wait for scrimmage. No, it's just nothing like that. It's going to be ones versus ones live sessions that I would love to be a fly on the wall when that happens. Just, oh man, because the intensity is going to be ramped up like nothing we've seen in Norman in a long time, because everybody's fighting for a position. There's nothing locked down outside of Dylan Gabriel. Nothing. Which I think in turn makes this team even better this year. That's something I want to, and I know it's March. What do you think that does? Because I think obviously iron sharpens iron, right? That fighting for the positions where nobody's really set in stone this year. Outside of maybe a Jalen Redmond, we all know he's going to start. How do you see that turning out on the field? Like, do you think this squad could be even better than, let's say, 2019?
Better than 2019. In terms
I don't want to say 2018 and 2017. Those were special teams. So
okay, are we talking in terms of statistical production? Are we talking in terms of record? What are we talking about?
Yeah, record, maybe at the end of the year, the vibe that we have for this team, do you think they could be better than 2019?
Yes, I do. And I think with the 2019 team, there was the expectation that, okay, yeah, they'll probably win the Big 12 championship. And as it got later in the season, I figured, okay, yeah, they're going to win the Big 12 championship. But you put them in the college football playoff, it's probably not much happening. They're probably in the exact same spot they were in 2017 and 2018. They're one and done. And indeed, that was the case. And I can't recall anybody heading into that Peach Bowl matchup against LSU that really legitimately figured OU had a shot. Now,
Yeah.
that wasn't to say anybody expected it to be as lopsided as it was, but most everybody figured, okay, this is the end of the road for OU. And so I think this team in 2022 can be better in the sense that I can see them making a run at a college football playoff berth. And I think if they get to that point, we're not going to have that sense of resignation about the end of the season. And I don't think if they get that far, everybody's going to immediately write them off. I think if they get there, everybody's at that point going to be looking at Oklahoma as a team that can legitimately beat just about anybody in the country.
So you think it's 27? You would think at the end of the year you could have a 2018 feel where, like, if things go right, they could win that ball game type deal.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and that's I see a lot of parallels to 2018, the way that I foresee this season playing out, because everybody kind of figured in 2018 that there was going to be a bit of a letdown. Right? There's no way that in 2018 they could be as good as they were with Baker Mayfield playing quarterback and Mark Andrews playing tight end. You think about all the talent that they lost across the board. Everybody
losing
kind of
Rodney
figured
Anderson.
20. Yeah, Rodney Anderson got hurt second game of the year and was out for the remainder of the season. So everybody figured in 2018 that Oklahoma was going to take a step back. Lo and behold, they certainly did not take a step back. And I think you can make the case. I don't know if I would agree with it, but I think you could make the case that the 2018 team was even more capable of winning a national title than the 2017 team. It just came down to the fact that Alabama team in 2018 was way better of a team than anybody that the 2017 team would have matched up against. So to me, I can see a similar dynamic playing out in 2022, where the consensus expectation is that there's going to be a step in retrograde, but with the guys that they're bringing in, both in terms of newcomers and in terms of guys ascending into starting roles after previously having been buried on the bench, I think there's enough talent on this team on both sides of the ball. And I think the Big 12 is wide open enough that they can run through this conference. They can win the Big 12 title. And if you win the Big 12 title and don't lose more than one game somewhere along the way, you're probably going to the college football playoff. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility for Oklahoma. And I think the key difference between the 2022 team and the 2018 team, and it's very, very obvious, but you're going to have a defense in 2022. You had arguably the worst defense in the history of the program in 2018.
You did. They were the 2018. They were defensive way from being just phenomenal. I just spilt Pepsi all over me. I'm pissed off at myself right now. That's what that was when you were talking. Literally all over my lap. I am just not happy with myself right now. Didn't get on the electronics, so that was good. But
that's a plus.
Well, my lap area isn't thinking that's a plus right now. It's cold. People are asking they're asking about the Thad Turnip Seed interview with Teddy and Gabe. I haven't gotten to see that yet.
Nor have I. And I know it's lengthy.
Yeah. We have something we're working on with that, along with another 2 or 3 people that will interest you guys. And it's basically a series called Building Your Program. I have to remember how I worded it. Do you remember how I worded it, Parker, by chance?
Offhand, no, but don't spill too much here, Brandon. We gotta maintain some of the intrigue.
Yeah, but I just want to tell them what the title is. That's it. The title. It's called Program Building: Creating the Program and the Culture to Your Liking. And it's gonna have some when we get everything approved and all that stuff, it's gonna be really, really cool for OU Insider VIP members. And potentially that's something we could make free because it's going to be such an intricate story. But yeah, it's going to have we're hoping to get that, but I'll leave it at that. That's the one person I'll say we're hoping to get. There's 3 or 4 other people involved in that I think the fans would like when if we can get that approved and we can get it going through. So where our fingers are crossed on that. It's a high ask, but hey, swing for the fences. You know what I mean? So this weekend, I know spring ball is going on. We're going to get to talk a lot about that over the next few weeks. But this weekend has, I don't even think it's arguable. I was talking to Steve Wolfong. He totally agreed. The list that they have coming in for just strictly unofficial visits is the best I have ever seen accumulated at OU. And I'm not talking about officials and unofficials combined, because obviously the Champion Barbecue last year was a who's who of recruiting in the 2022 class and the 2023 class and 2024 class. This year's Elite Junior Day for March 26th is insane for 23, 24, and 25. Just it's ridiculous. And they're unofficial visits because officials can't start till April 1st. So these cats are coming in on their own dime, which makes it even more, like, I guess, intriguing. I don't know. There's probably a better word for that.
Well, you consider how far some of them are coming.
Oh my God,
to come to Oklahoma
yes.
on their own dime. It's astonishing, is what it is.
Yeah, and there's people on there that we haven't got confirmed. I know I've talked to sources, like there's a couple of surprises coming in that are big name guys that we haven't got. Like today, we put out 2023 4-star top 50 overall player in the country, defensive back out of Louisiana. Derek Williams Jr. is coming in. And then obviously 2024 4-star, easily one of the top 50 players in the 2024 class. Brayshawn Williams is coming in as well from Lakeland, Florida. That's in addition to, and we're not going to name all of it. You can go to ouinsider.com VIP to see the full list. And it's pretty ridiculous. We had Makari Vickers, like everybody's finally getting around to Makari Vickers. It's not a brag. It's the truth. We had Makari Vickers, 2 weeks ago, something like that on our list.
More than a minute ago.
Yeah, more than a minute ago. So Makari Vickers, obviously out of Tallahassee, 4-star 2023 defensive backs coming in. He's coming in on Wednesday. He and I have been talking for a while. He's coming in Wednesday, staying to Sunday. So I think that's a really cool deal. Obviously, 5-star Umozulu is or Zena Umozulu is coming in, defensive end out of Allen, 5-star defensive end out of Allen. 4-star defensive back CJ Hurd out of Woodward Academy in Atlanta. Kyler Casper, 2023 4-star wide receiver out of Arizona is coming in. You confirmed that one a while back, like almost a month ago. Do you have you reconfirmed that with him, by the way?
No, I probably, I guess I should do that. Yeah.
Because he was all set. He set it up literally after, because he even said he called you to tell you, like, hey, I set up my visit, it's set up and all that. But obviously, and then Derek LeBlanc, 4-star. He's in the 5-star range. We haven't given him his 5th star yet, but he's I call him a 5-star defensive lineman out of Osceola High School in Kissimmee, Florida. He's coming in on Thursday, staying till Monday. So he'll be flying out Monday. He's going to stay for 3 or 4 days as well. And then Jalen Mbakwe, 2024 4-star defensive back out of Alabama. Stacey Gage, 5-star running back out of IMG. 2024 5-star defensive lineman T.A. Cunningham, 2024 5-star defensive lineman Evan Brown Schuler, 2023 5-star defensive back Bravion Rogers, 2024 4-star defensive back Jordan Johnson Rubel, 2023 4-star offensive lineman Bryson Sanders. Like, that is just the cusp of what, like, this list. There's more 5-stars on here. There's more 4-stars on here. It is just chock full of elite talent. So having said that, Parker, of all the people that you know that are visiting this weekend to Oklahoma, 3 guys that you're watching closely.
As far as are we talking potential commits?
Yeah, you can go commits. Like, we know Derek LeBlanc's not going to commit. He's set up for July 23rd, and he's definitive on that date. You know, I don't want to say we don't know if Stacey Gage isn't going to commit. Like, we don't know that. Like, because he hasn't said one word. Yeah, that could happen. I don't know, man. Georgia Tech, from what I saw in some other places. Dude, I just rolled my eyes on it. I was like, what?
I would say 3 guys that I'm watching. I feel like you almost have to start with Stacey Gage, just because of the connection he has with Oklahoma, having grown up in Hugo. We've talked about it ad nauseum. That's a kid that you and I both believe is going to be a Sooner, Brandon, and it's a lot more of a when question more so than an if question at this point.
It feels that way, but it's recruiting, so I hate to say definitively that's going to happen, but yeah, it really does. It has a David Stone feel to it for sure.
Yeah, it certainly does. Now, another guy you already mentioned, I think there's an outside shot that Oklahoma makes a really strong impression on Kyler Casper, and they decide to shut it down. Outside shot. And the only reason I say that is because Casper hasn't announced a definitive timetable, and in talking with people in his camp, it really seems like they're just going to get that decision out of the way as soon as they feel comfortable with wherever his eventual destination is. So that's why I say, if Oklahoma knocks that one out of the park, there's a chance Kyler Casper could commit out of the blue. There's certainly a chance. Now, if I had to pick a third, this is where it kind of gets hairy.
That's what she said. I'm sorry.
Is it?
I don't know. She could have.
It's a little stretched, but okay. I'll give it to you. I think you could say T.A. Cunningham, based on his friendship with Stacey Gage and some of the other elite guys that are coming into town. I'm not necessarily sure I buy that.
Dax Collins.
Well, and if he gets the offer, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, and everybody knows it's a wrap. Yeah. Now, I'm trying to think of the 2023 guys that they have on campus, and those are going to be the ones that I think.
It'd be Bryson Sanders, Bravion Rogers,
Bryson
Derek LeBlanc.
Bryson Sanders. That one could get interesting.
Oh, there's one. I didn't name him on purpose. There's one. There's a 2023 that it's so easy as far as commits go. Like, as far as somebody that you would think would commit, or excuse me, not think could potentially commit. I got to get the wording right here because I don't want people to run off and say, "Oh, they're reporting blah blah blah."
I'm spacing, Brandon. You're gonna have to help me on this one.
Think where I live.
Okay. Well, yep. Yeah, I guess, man, I forgot he was coming. He's shown up so many times.
He's like, he's there again. Yeah.
Yeah. Jacoby Johnson, for those of you that aren't following. Jacoby Johnson's another guy that you and I have both crystal balled to Oklahoma. So that one could tip in OU's favor this weekend. I don't necessarily, in my gut, I don't think that happens, but it could. There's a chance.
I told you I was talking earlier about a player that a recruit that tried to, commit and wasn't able to. So because I wanted to take visits. So maybe if this one shuts it down, I'm trying to throw it out here, hints out for people if y'all don't know what I'm talking about here. Parker does. Yeah, he's a guy that I feel, again, he's a win, not if guy, in my opinion. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think the
Okay.
crystal ball reflects that.
Right. But I mean, yeah. Um, he wants to take visits, but at the same time, he doesn't really have time to do a lot of recruiting stuff. And to be quite frank about it, Jacoby doesn't like the recruiting process at all. Like, not a fan of it. Like, he enjoys talking to people. He doesn't enjoy the salesman part of it. Like, he's a very confident kid, but he's very, like, he wants to get it over with because he just wants to focus on basketball and football. Like, he's like, I just want to get it over with. I would rather just commit somewhere and just be done with it. And to me, now, do I think he does it this weekend? I'll give it like a 35-40% chance, but I would lean more to not happening. But would I be shocked if he does? No, not at all. Like, he's one of those kids that, like, if it happens, you're like, yeah, this was a long time coming type of deal. So it's not going to shock you if it happens and when it happens. I think so. Jordan Johnson Rubel is coming up with a 2024 quarterback out of Grandview, Texas, Ryder Hayes. And I watched Ryder Hayes this past weekend. Really good player. Really good player. His family obviously is on OU Insider. Jordan Johnson Rubel has told me flat out, I want to play closer to home. He's at IMG right now. He's originally from Fort Worth. Went to Brewer High School in Fort Worth area. And he would like to get back. His mom, Nikki, would love for him to come back and play in this area too, because she would get to watch him play every weekend. And he's told me on several occasions that Oklahoma is going to be up there at the top almost the whole time. He's not real big on the University of Texas, though. He is going to go see them in April. But they haven't offered one. Two, he really likes TCU, being a Fort Worth kid. Three, his relationship with Jay Valai has just grown and grown and grown. And he's a kid that blew up this past summer. He went to several camps and ran a 4.4 and really covered well. You and I both watched him at the OU Elite Camp. He just flat out dominated no matter who he went up against. And he's a guy that I think has a chance to be an early commit guy for OU down the line. Now, I wouldn't like write it in stone or anything like that, but he's got a chance. He's got a chance to be really good. And he's got a chance to be one of the guys that kicks off the Oklahoma. And I'm telling you this, if Jordan Johnson Rubel that happens to ever commit to Oklahoma while he's at IMG, and let's say they get Stacey Gage and David Stone as well, so they got three. Jaden Hardy is not that far behind, I don't think. Originally from Louisville, dad played in the NFL. He's at IMG now, but it makes sense. He's got a really good relationship again with Coach Brandon Hall and Coach Jay Valai. He is also going to be up on the visit this weekend, he says. So, look, I think Oklahoma has a chance to really make a splash at IMG in 2024, and I don't think they stop with those four. If they happen to land those four, I think it rolls over and spills over to a couple more. I think it's one of those deals where it's like Ohio State at IMG or Clemson at IMG or Alabama the past few years, where they've gotten 4 or 5 guys here, that type of deal. So we'll see. As far as the 3 that I'm watching, obviously Dax, Dax Collins. I would probably say Jacoby Johnson, and then Stacey Gage. Yeah, I guess those would be my 3. And I think after that, like, it could be a momentum changer but the thing is Oklahoma's going to make damn sure that they're not. That's what they want to do before. They're not. There's been several occasions this spring where kids have tried to commit and they went, look, you need to make sure. Like, don't just commit to us because you love us right now. Commit to us because you want to be done with your process.
And because you don't want to
And
be
Venables
anywhere
said
else.
that. Because you don't want to be anywhere else. And Venables has said that.
Let me ask
Or
you this,
because
Brandon.
of parent.
Let me ask you this. All of that said, over under 1.5 commits this weekend.
I hate that line. I know that's why you did that, but I'll say under.
Really?
Just because of how strict Oklahoma is about visits. I think Oklahoma is going to be that school from here on out. It's going to be like because Alabama's a lot like that, where Saban doesn't allow people to take visits. Like, if you notice, like, they close out. Like, if a dude's committed to Alabama, they're not going anywhere. Like, how often do you see people committed to Alabama visiting someplace?
Well, you don't. And sure, it has to do with policy. I think it also just has to do with the fact that if you're committed to Alabama, shoot, you're not doing anything to jeopardize that spot. You're not. There's no
Same
no
with
place.
Clemson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, why
Georgia.
Why would you put yourself in a situation where you're in danger of losing your spot in the class at Alabama? You wouldn't.
Mm-hmm. And but that's what Oklahoma's trying to do. They're trying to make that offer in that spot. They're trying to make them feel like they're part of that group, because they are, but they've never made their spots feel like that. It's never been, if you commit to Oklahoma, it's like, oh, you're committed to like this grandiose place that you can't find anywhere else, like Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson and Georgia have made kids feel over the past 4 or 5 years. That's what Venables is coming in here and saying, look, that's what this is. You can't find a better spot. So go look around, but you're going to come back to us. At the end of the day, you are going to come back to us. And I think that's kind of their sales pitch right now. And he said it today. At the end of the day, you're going to come back to us. You're going to be committed to us. Like, they're that confident in that. It's been a while since there's been anybody at the head of the head coach position at Oklahoma that's been that confident and not really paranoid about it. So, look, I think the program's moving in a great direction. I think and they're not done. Like, literally the top 2024 linebacker in the country is visiting Oklahoma in April 1st or 2nd. I can't remember. Out of North Carolina. Dadgummit, I just went blank on his name again. Help me out here, bro.
From North Carolina?
I believe he's from North Carolina. No, he's from Georgia. He's from Georgia. Excuse me.
In 2024?
Yeah.
Sammy Brown?
Sammy Brown. That's what it is. Yep. He's visiting Oklahoma. Obviously, 2023 linebacker. Picciotti's visiting Oklahoma. I believe on the same day, April 2nd. So I think and they're going to have them after this junior day. They're going to have big names sprinkled coming in here or there, and it's all going to lead up to the spring game. Which, if Oklahoma does what Brent Venables, Oklahoma fans do what Brent Venables asks you all to do, and that is sell out the stadium. If you all can sell out the stadium and show up there on April 23rd and make that atmosphere what everybody hopes it is, there's a good chance that you could have Derek LeBlanc back that weekend. You could have, obviously, you have Nigel Smith the third back that weekend, as Parker's already reported. There's a certain brothers that will be there. The Overton brothers will be there on their official visit. David Hicks will probably be around during that time because he is close with the Hicks brothers, or the Levius Overton, or the Overton brothers. So that weekend could be massive as well, and there'll be official visits that weekend. I don't think you'll see a lot, but you're going to see some. How many? Okay, May 1st. How many commits does OU have in 23?
You got 4 right now.
Yeah.
I would say by May 1st, I'll say 7. I'll say they have 7.
Okay, I was going to go 9.
Wow. Okay, you're a little bit more optimistic.
Well, I don't think
than I am.
that's that. Well, I mean, because of the spring game, I think by that time there's a lot of guys that will have taken 3 or 4 visits, and they can be done with their process because they've gone through it for the most part. If Oklahoma's their spring game visit, and say that's like their 3rd visit out of 5, and they're like, you know what, I've taken 3 visits, I don't really need to take 2 more. Like, I wasn't going to go to the schools anyways. They were just there to take visits, so just be done with it. And there, that happens more. That happens a lot, actually, with kids when they get up to about that 3rd official visit. A lot of times they're over it, and they don't want to do it because it's more travel. It's just tiresome. It gets tiresome after you've gone on a bunch of unofficials, and then you got those 3 official visits. I don't know why I say 9. Okay, let's put it to you like this: how many 2024s are committed at that point? Do they have one in that class yet?
I think they will have 2 by May 1st.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say 3 at the most. It's good. I like that number. Okay. Do they have any more 2022 commits?
When you say, do they have any more 2022 commits? I think what you mean is, will LT Overton be a Sooner?
This is the big weekend, by the way. That's going to be the very telltale sign of it all.
Yeah, I think you will be. I think OU ends up with LT Overton.
It's interesting, man.
What do you,
Well, here's why. I no. Whoa. You know how I am about it. Like he's visiting A&M this weekend, so this is the very telling weekend in my opinion, because I think if he comes out of this weekend and decides to take the final 2 visits, I like Oklahoma's chances at that point, especially off of what you and I talked about last night. And it's just like, I don't know.
I think there's a reason he scheduled that Oklahoma visit last.
I agree. When I was down in Georgia, there was a lot of people that felt like Oklahoma had a chance to really come in and be just just shake that thing up and just screw over everybody because of the family aspect to it all. And yeah, A&M has that too with his dad working there. But there's one thing to have worked there for a paycheck for 10 years and gone there for 5 and played there and spilled your guts and gave it your all and competed for to play in big bowl games back then, like the Gator Bowl and stuff like that. So for Milton Overton, obviously it's no secret he would love to know where he would love his kid at Oklahoma. Now, mama obviously running track at Kentucky. They're not in it, so she's neutral in this part. But from my understanding, she's super close with Todd Bates, like super, super close with Todd Bates. And the second OU hired Todd Bates, much like David Hicks, things changed fast for OU's chances there. They skyrocket up significantly. Before we get out of here, because we're running out of time, tell everybody what you have coming on the VIP board, and I'll follow up with that, and we'll close it out.
Yeah, so obviously just had some notes over the weekend from my travels up in Tulsa. Today, Brandon and I collaborated to bring you some very interesting information on an off-field hire for the Sooner coaching staff via the VIP board. Going forward this week, obviously going to be in the process of confirming visitors for the weekend, getting updates with a lot of these guys that Oklahoma is very much in play for in the 2023 cycle in particular. And then this weekend, Brandon and I we're both going to be down there in Dallas at the Battle 7-on-7 event, at which there will be numerous OU targets. So between that and the weekend of visitors that Oklahoma will be hosting in Norman, there's a lot that you're going to want to be tuned into the OU Insider VIP board for more information on, because it is, the rubber's starting to meet the road in this 2023 cycle. And once April 1st hits, you got official visits on deck. Obviously, the Overton situation, spring ball starts in less than 12 hours now, Brandon. So it is a phenomenal time to jump on the bandwagon at ouinsider.com. If you haven't already, get your first month for $1. See how you like it. Hey, guess what? You buy today, that'll take you all the way up to the eve of the spring game. And if you like the information you're being fed on the OU Insider VIP board, you're welcome to stick around. And if not, no hard feelings. But we do our best to bring you more and better information on your OU football program and the recruits that they're pursuing than anybody else in the business. And that is our mission every single day when we get up in the morning. So again, jump on board, $1 for your first month. You like it, stick around. It's a ton of fun having the community that OU Insider provides as well. In addition to the information, being able to interact with thousands of Sooner fans across the country and across the globe as well.
Knowledgeable ones. And not just that, you get to go see all the other boards too and what they're saying. That's always fun for a lot of people. They love bringing the links over to our board and then having a lengthy discussion about said fans. Usually it's A&M these days. There's this budding rivalry that wasn't even there when they were in the Big 12, but it is. I'm telling you, when Oklahoma gets in the SEC, that's going to be thick. That rivalry is going to be hot because of they're two similar programs as far as the players they go and recruit. And A&M starting to get players. Obviously, if you see 2022 class, they're starting to recruit like Oklahoma has been recruiting for a long time, and even better than Oklahoma's been recruiting. So the battle is just if you think Twitter's rough, go to the boards. It's interesting. Tomorrow we're going to start 50% off leading up. So it's going to be 50% off all the way through Monday. That's the goal here, because you have spring starting and you have the biggest junior day in recent memory coming along, and it's going to be fun. I have tomorrow morning, I will be dropping my way too early class predictions. Now, this past weekend, I dropped the visitor list, but at the same time, that visitor list and those that are on this YouTube live can tell you it had, for every player that's visiting, I had probably a paragraph snippet of information about where Oklahoma stood with them and why they stood with them. So it was really lengthy and informative. You can go to that. The cool part about my class predictions is that has very similar format, but I also have players underneath it in bold. It'll say like, I'll have my confidence. So it'll be like 4 out of 10 confidence on this pick. And then underneath the predictions, I have players that soon could replace those above as far as predictions. So every month, at the end of every month, I do a 2023 prediction. And so there'll be players and why I feel like they could be a part of the prediction and replace those guys above them that are already predicted at this juncture. So, and then I break down the class numbers, what it calculates out to, why I think this is important, and where things can go if certain things happen here or there, all that type of stuff. It is the most detailed, intrinsic write-up that I do every month, starting here on out. And you'll get it once a month from here on out, obviously with all the other information that we drop on spring ball, on recruiting, the daily stuff. But that is kind of the coup de grace of everything that Parker and I do. He'll do his stuff as well as far as prediction go, but our board members love it. I can tell you that much. It's going to be over 10,000 words, and it's going to be 10,000 words of just information galore, of picks, of notes, all kinds of stuff that you guys will want to know on each and every target that Oklahoma's in on right now for the 2023 class. And it was a bear for me to do, and I can't wait for you guys to read it tomorrow morning. But we're going to start that out. And you guys are going to love it. Parker will have his coming up later on, and then we'll go from there. So we're about to start rolling out the big time stuff. So if you do want to jump on board, that 50% off will get you for $53 instead of paying $108. You get to pay $53. So you get it all year and get everything that Parker outlined and I outlined earlier for that $1. But it's more actually, because at the end of the first year, you'll even get Paramount Plus added on top of it. So that's pretty big. That's going to do it for this OU Insider YouTube Live. I want to thank you, Sooner fans, for doing what you guys are doing. You guys have helped us break records. I say that every YouTube Live, every podcast, because I mean it. We really can't thank you guys enough. You've helped us travel. You help us do all kinds of stuff by being members of OU Insider, by even just visiting the site. We're hitting page views numbers, session records each and every month, and obviously member records each and every month. It's a blessing to be working for you guys each and every day, and we can't thank you guys enough. So for Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drumm. That's going to do it for this week's version of the OU Insider Under the Visor YouTube Live. You guys have a blessed night. Stay safe, and God bless.